It's that time of the year again where I do a little bit of an unhinged tier ranking of all of the games I've played the year before. I've done this for a couple of years now. I always have a lot of fun figuring out which ones were my favorite of the year and which ones not so much. Last video I made, I think I played over 30 games. In 2024 though, I played over 50 games. So there's a lot to get into today. I'm gonna try to go over each game really quickly so that this video isn't 3 hours long. I'll give you a little bit of a synopsis what the game is about, my thoughts on it, and my ranking. Grab yourself a cup of tea. I have a little cup of coffee here with me to carry me through. Let's get really cozy and talk about all the games that I played last year. Before we get into the rankings though, I'm gonna explain to you my tiers. The first tier is holding space.
Holding space with that.
Really powerful. I didn't know that was happening.
These are gonna be my best games of the year. The ones that I played the most, the ones that I liked the most. I would recommend with my eyes closed, best of the best. Under that, I have Demure and Mindful.
See how I do my makeup for work? Very demure, very mindful.
These are gonna be some of the games that I love the most this year, but for one reason or another didn't make it to my top of the top. Oh, I need to sneeze. Sorry. But still really, really good and would still really, really recommend. In the middle tier, I have Who Is This Diva? The games on this tier were just kind of there. Fun, but not a highlight for me. Under that, we have, as the mother of all mothers would say, Wake Up, Pearl.
Consider tonight your wake-up call. Wake up, Pearl. Wake up.
These are the games that I would consider simply below average. Maybe there was a part of them that I really didn't like, or a game that I would most likely not really recommend. And last but not least, we have I Got Hit by a Deer. Named after the iconic scene in the first season of Gilmore Girls.
Oh my god! I just got hit by a deer!
You hit a deer?
No, I got hit by a deer.
These are the games that I would say it's a no from me. I would not recommend these games. Now that you know my tiers, let's get started. The first game that I played this year is a game called We Were Here. This is a really fun co-op game. You are lost in a frozen wasteland and split up from your partner inside an abandoned castle. You have to figure out ways to help each other and solve the puzzles to move ahead and escape. I really love this game. I thought it was really, really fun. I think a lot of them are free as well, which I really appreciate. Escape roomy games are some of my favorite games to play co-op because it really exercises that kind of like communication aspect of things, and it just feels so satisfying when you are able to figure out the puzzles together. One thing about this game is that some of the puzzles are very, very niche, and so it requires certain skills that I feel not everyone would have to solve the puzzles. I got stuck in a puzzle that had to do with chess. As much as I have tried to learn chess in my life, I just can't, for the life of me, remember the names of the pieces and their different movements. For some reason, it just doesn't stay in my brain. I think that makes this game a little bit harder than maybe it has to be. I felt like maybe it was a little bit inaccessible. For that reason, and for that reason only, I would put this game on Who Is This Diva? It's still a really, really good game. I would still really recommend it. Let's call it for where it is. Maybe I just wasn't smart enough for it. Next game that I'm going to be ranking today is Loddlenaut. This is such a wonderful game. In this game, you play as an interstellar custodian sent to a different planet to clean up the oceans. I love this game. It was so simple, so straightforward. I really love a game that has, first of all, a really interesting message about conservation, which this game does. And I also really love the way that this game is so satisfying, but there's another layer to it where there are some time restraints. It's not just a mindless cleaning game, and I appreciated that. It had a little bit of a story, and you also get to befriend and name so many little guys in this game. And you guys know how I feel about that. I'm gonna put this one in very demure, very mindful. I feel like looking at all the games that I have on this list, I feel like there's definitely so much more. We're being cutthroat. Me being cutthroat. Next on my list, I have Plantabi. This is a really sweet game about tending your own plant shop. Really cool because you're able to decorate. It has this gorgeous pixel art that I really love. There's a little bit of a cookie lore to it where you are able to meet this like weird alien creatures and they help you get plants from different planets. I think I would put this game in Who Is This Diva because I personally feel like the gameplay was a little bit slow. I just wasn't invested enough to keep playing the game, if that makes sense. It's a beautiful game. It was just a little bit slow for me. Next on my list is Garden Life. I feel like this game got a little bit of mixed reviews when it came out, and I'm not sure why, to be honest. I loved this game when it came out. This is basically a gardening simulator. You are going back to your hometown and you are tasked with bringing back the community garden to life. I thought this game was a dream come true for me. So beautiful, it is so fun. I really loved the backstory that they include in the game, but I also really enjoyed all of the mechanics. And also, can we talk about the hot ghost in this game? I don't think enough people are talking about the hot ghost in this game. And maybe there's a reason for that, but I had to bring him up, okay? Honestly, I am holding space for this game. Garden Life, I don't care what anybody says. You're up there for me. I really enjoyed playing this game and I really recommend it, especially if you've always had a cottagecore dream of tending to your own garden. I think this game is so beautiful for that. The following game I want to rank today is Collage Atlas. This game was actually made by a single developer and it was completely hand-drawn. I think it took like 4 years to finish, which I'm not surprised for. You are going through this almost storybook-like game and you're finding the different passages of the book to complete the story. So beautiful that it made me cry just by how beautiful it was, to be completely honest. And I really love supporting indie developers. I feel like it's just so impressive what they did with this. Such a specific direction and art style and such a beautiful message at the end of it. This game to me is very demure, very mindful. The reason why I'm not putting it in the top tier is because I think it has something to do with everything being black and white that sometimes got a little bit confusing for me, but I really do recommend this game. It's wonderful. Next we have Potion Craft. Holding space. Immediately holding space for you, man. I feel like Potion Craft is so underrated in the cozy gaming community and I will never shut up about it. This is just such a good game. You play as an alchemist who is discovering potions in order to sell it to the townsfolk. It's kind of like medieval style. The mechanics are like nothing I've ever seen before. The way that you are able to find your potions is by having this map in front of you, and each ingredient that you put into the potion moves you in a certain direction in the map, and in that way you're able to find different potions. There are so many potions as well. It's so cool. I cannot rave about it enough. I'm holding space for this one. Next I need to talk about Minami Lane. I don't understand why there wasn't more hype around this game. I think this game is very demure, very mindful, and I'm only putting it there because I do wish there was more to it. And yes, this is a $4 game. It makes sense that it's on the shorter side and there's still a lot in the game, but I am greedy. This game is a city builder game in which you're basically taking care of this street. You are monitoring the satisfaction of the people on your street, and depending on the feedback that you get, add or remove things from your streets in order to change that satisfaction level. It's really fun. You can add parks and buildings and different shops, and you can even work on the types of things that those stores sell in order to cater to the people on those streets. I really recommend it, and it's so affordable. I honestly can't believe this game is $4.99. Next on my list, I have Sticky Business. I love this game. I'm starting to become quite aware that I'm just gonna talk about many games that I love. Most of the games that I played this year, I really loved. So just bear that in mind, I suppose. Sticky Business is a shop management game. You are managing a sticker shop online. Also able to design your own stickers for yourself. So you get to sit down and figure out what kind of stickers you want to make. Just so fun. The fact that you are able to really make everything your own. It scratches my brain in the right way. For that reason, Sticky Business is going to very demure very mindful. Next, we have another banger, Botany Manor. This is one of the games that I was most hyped for in 2024, and it did not disappoint at all. I am holding space for Botany Manor because we need more cozy games like this one. Where is she? Here we go. It's just such a good game. In this game, you play as a retired botanist, explore your house and gardens filled with research to figure out the ideal habitat of forgotten flora. You're filling up your flora notebook. You're solving up all of these puzzles and collecting clues. The puzzles come in the shape of a flower or a plant. Oh my god. What a game. I feel like the ambience is everything that you could have hoped for. I want to move into this house so badly. 10 out of 10. Absolutely recommend this game. Next, I need to talk about Little Kitty Big City. This was such a fun game that came out this year. I think this game really shines in the cuteness factor of it. Play as an inside cat who accidentally falls from his apartment and you're trying to find your way back. Along the way, you meet so many different characters, you go on so many different adventures. You're also able to collect hats in this game, so I'm gonna put it in Demure and Mindful. They also did a really good job animating that cat. Next on my list is a bit of a chaotic one called Kallax. I played this game with my friends recently and it was a really fun time, though maybe a little bit frustrating. This is a co-op game in which you are trying to build certain furniture in order to complete the levels. So silly, so chaotic, so fun, so colorful. I can see why this game could be very rage quitting prone. I'm gonna put this game in Who Is This Diva? Though I really love this game because of the stress factor. I think this one will really depend on your personality. Next one is another one that I played a lot with my friends this year, and that is The Survivalist. This is your standard survival game. The most interesting part about this game is that you collect monkeys. You can teach your monkeys to do things for you. Automate some of your camp with the monkeys, and I think that's a really fun and interesting take on a survival game. Also, you can dress up your monkeys, which I personally am a big fan of. However, there's another survival game that I would talk about later that I was obsessed with this year. Even though I really liked playing this game with friends, I truly did not gravitate to it to play by myself. I just wasn't that invested in it. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna put this game in Who Is This Diva? Still fun, but maybe not for me. Now the next game. Guys. House Flipper 2. I tried House Flipper 2 this year, and when I tell you, I was obsessed. I love this game so much, and they have recently said that they are releasing a co-op version, and I cannot wait to try this. I'm holding space for House Flipper 2. 100% one of my favorite games of the year. If you haven't played House Flipper or House Flipper 2, I really recommend it, especially if you are into interior decorating games. As the name suggests, this is a game about flipping houses. You get certain customers, you go to their houses, they have very specific requests for what they want you to do in their houses, and you're supposed to fulfill those requests. Even though you are fulfilling people's requests, you still are able to customize a lot of the things that you're able to do. I could not put this game down when I first got it, and I can't wait to play co-op. Next, we have a really fun game called Yolk Heroes. This is a retro-inspired long tamago. It's like you're caring for a Tamagotchi, but it's a longer story. You are taking care of this little hero who is supposed to save the world. I really loved playing this game. Just the aesthetic of it and the premise was so interesting and so fun. I love games that are retro inspired, especially when they're executed with so much heart. I did feel like this game was a little bit slow for me at times. That's on me because I'm really impatient. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this game in Demure and Mindful. Next, I have another co-op game, and that is a game called Tock. This was another one that was very escape roomy kind of vibe. It wasn't like constrained in a room. It was a whole town almost. There were different buildings that you can go into to explore and solve the puzzles within the buildings. And there was a time mechanic to it. So interesting and so fun to figure out. This game is definitely demure and mindful. Really, really fun game. Next on my list, I have Magical Delicacy. This is one of the first ever completely cozy Metroidvania games, which I really, really appreciate, and I was very excited to try it out. In this game, you play as a witch who just moved into this town. You're meeting with everyone in the town, and you find yourself involved in a very interesting and mysterious storyline. I really love this game because it is all driven by recipes and cooking mechanics who are so fun, because by talking to people and figuring out their tastes, then you create recipes that are based upon what their tastes are. I feel like this game was very demure, very mindful. Next on my list, I have Mech Builder. I really enjoyed playing it this year. I played it a lot. I would call this game a simulator of robot building. I feel like this is a pretty popular hobby. You're just building your robots, trying to figure out which piece goes where. I do wish there was a little bit more to it. I don't know what could be added to it. I just wish there was a little bit more to it, but I also really appreciated the simplicity of it. So another good thing about this game, the sounds. Very satisfying clickety-clack cutting sounds. I think this game was just very demure and mindful. Next on my list might be the first one who doesn't make it to the first 3 tiers, and that is Mudborne. This is a casual nature management sim about discovering and breeding frogs. I really wanted to like this game, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I think it had a lot to do with the tutorial not being very good. This game was just really confusing from the get-go, and I feel really sad because it's so cute, and I know that once you wrap your head around it, it's probably really fun, but I just got quite frustrated and ended up just deciding not to play the game anymore. Love the conservationalist message to it, but this game is gonna have to go to Wake Up Pearl. Next on my list is a bit of a rogue one, and that is Lord of the Rings: Return to Moria. This is a survival crafting game where players take on the role of a dwarf reclaiming the dwarven homeland of Moria. I really had a great time creating my own dwarf character. You're able to customize your appearance, your name, and where you're from, and what your abilities are. I really love the environments. You're able to explore all of these mines and find different crafting materials. There were so many silly, fun dwarf mechanics in it that I really appreciated. Like, there are times where you're able to just drink beer and sing the song of your people and dance around. It was especially fun to play with friends and loved ones. I just had a great time playing this game. However, I feel like this is one of those games that I would just gravitate to play it more if I had someone to play it with than by myself. So for that reason, I'm just gonna put it in demure and mindful. Fun game though. I really loved it. I'm just so ready for Tales of the Shire as well. So I feel like this game kind of scratched that itch a little bit of like being in the Lord of the Rings world, if that makes sense. Next, I have a bit of a rogue one as well. This one is called Broken Lens. I got this game gifted a few months ago and I gave it a try, and I honestly really loved it. It's a find the difference game. This game is going to demure and mindful. Such a fun little game to play to just melt your brain at the end of the day. And I also really appreciated how much thought and love they put into the world building of the game. Just a fun little game. The game that I tried this year is Cozy Grove. I am obviously extremely late to the game, but I finally tried it this year and I was hooked. Honestly, I feel like it was a good mixture of a lot of things that I really like in video games. You play as a spirit scout that makes it into this island. Along the way, you find a lot of spirits that you have to help out. As you help them out, they recover their memory, and as they recover their memory, they bring color into the world, and it's so beautiful. One thing that I really like about this game as well is that it has a very slow-paced gameplay, but not in a way that feels boring. More so in a way that feels structured. You can go into the game and do your dailies every single day, and it'll take you about 1 hour to fulfill all of your dailies, and then you can put the game down and then pick it up the next day. Having that grounding factor in a cozy game that you can return to every day is really fun. I feel like this was one of my favorite games of the year. I'm gonna be holding space for that one. I know I'm really late to the game. I'm definitely holding space for Cozy Grove. If you haven't played it, or if you haven't played it in a while, I think it might be time to revive it. Another game that I played in 2024 was the Werecleaner. Oh my goodness, I feel like this game, I'm holding space for this game. This was 100% one of my favorite games of the year. I love that this game is completely free and it was made by a student. I just find that so impressive. In this game, you play as a janitor for an office who also happens to be a werewolf. However, you are now being asked to work nights, which means you are now doing your job as a werewolf, cleaning the office and at the same time trying to avoid people so that you don't eat them alive. It's so fun, it's so silly, it's so entertaining. It does have some time constraints, it does have a little bit of like cartoony gore in it. So if those are things that are not up your alley, then maybe don't try this game. Next, I have Mika and the Witch's Mountain. In this game, you play as a little witch trying her bestest and darndest to become a professional witch. But as it turns out, you have to fulfill a lot of other tasks before you're able to do that. You find yourself helping the townsfolk and doing a lot of mail delivery for them. I had so much fun playing this game. It is one of those games that has a lot of flying mechanics, so if you don't like those, if you feel like those are a bit stressful, you're not gonna like this game. I've heard people saying that they didn't really vibe with it for that reason. Very Kiki's Delivery Service coded, which is one of my favorite Ghibli films. This game is gonna go to Demure and Mindful. It did get a little bit repetitive at the end. I'm seeing Demure and Mindful getting really full, so I'm gonna start
getting more ruthless.
Next on my list, I have Oxenfree. This is a supernatural thriller about a group of friends who open a ghostly rift. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna put Oxenfree in Wake Up Pearl. I really loved the aesthetic of the game. I thought the story was really interesting. I had a really hard time rooting for anybody. I didn't personally really like any of the characters, and it also got really dark really quickly with some subjects that I was not expecting. I think this game should come with a trigger warning. As a fan of darker, cozy games, I personally was just not a big fan. And I might give it another try and I might change my mind, but this is where I stand with this game right now. There were so many characters in this game that I was just like, oh my god, just stop talking for a second. I love games that are voice acted, but this was the first game ever that I was just like, I wish this game wasn't voice acted. You just can't skip. Your replies were also timed. There were times where I couldn't read my responses in time. The game would just move on without me. I'm a really slow reader. I'm really sorry. I hope that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. Sorry. Next game that I played this year was Tiny Glade. This was one of my most hyped games of the year as well. I played the demo and completely fell in love with it, and I was like, I don't even know how we can improve on this game because the demo is already so perfect, but somehow they did. This is a very calm, low stakes building game. This game is exactly what it advertised it would be and more. The gameplay is so streamlined and satisfying. It feels like going back to being a kid and just building Lego things from your imagination. It kind of felt that way to me. This was one of my favorite games of the year for sure, so I'm gonna put it in holding space. We're holding space for Tiny Glade. Next is another of my favorite games of the year. I feel like I've talked about that game on this channel so much, but that is Corekeeper. Holding space for him. We're holding space for Corekeeper. I have no words. This is the first ever survival game that I have actually cared to play by myself with people for hours on end. I love this game so much. And basically you get dropped in a mine where you are able to explore to your heart's content. This is my favorite survival game of all time. The gameplay is just streamlined in a way that I have never seen before. It makes it so satisfying. I also really appreciated about this game that it has an underlying story to it as well. They also make it so addicting because as long as you have food in your pocket, you can play forever. It's not one of those games where like you go into the mines and then you're like, oh shoot, I don't have enough energy, or like the day is done so I have to go back to my base. I really recommend it. If you like survival games, I feel like this one's gonna be really up there for you. But if you don't like survival games, I would suggest that you try this one out, because I am not a big fan of survival games, and this one has become one of my favorite games of the year. So goes to show. The next game I'm ranking is Chained Together. I feel like people would look at this game and think this is not a cozy game, but somehow, to me, this is a cozy game. I really had so much fun playing this game with friends. Don't be put off by the rough exterior. It looks bloody and scary, but it really is not. It's a platforming game, basically. You play as a person who is trying to get out of the underworld. You're doing so by getting through these platforming challenges. The whole point is that when you play with people, you're all chained together. So you have to get through these platforming challenges while all being chained. So silly. It's a really fun co-op game, and I'm really happy I tried it. It's become one of my favorite co-op games to play here and there with friends. So I really recommend it, and I'm gonna put it in Demure and Mindful, because one of those silly games, I feel. Next is another co-op game, but unfortunately this is gonna be probably the only game that I'm gonna put in the last tier, and that is Come With Me. This game got hit by a deer, I'm not gonna lie. I even feel bad saying that, because I can see how much love they put into this game, but it just doesn't feel like a fully fleshed out game. It ends very abruptly. It doesn't really make sense. I cannot recommend this game to anybody. This is a co-op game where you play as a rectangle guy and a circle guy. I don't even know what their names are. And it's just one of those classic co-op games where you are going through levels, trying to solve them together. Each of you have different powers, different things that you can activate to help each other. But yeah, this game was extremely glitchy, but if you want to try a little silly game that is very glitchy and just kind of like laugh about it while playing with a friend, hey, this could be up there for you. I don't know. Following, I have The Wanderer. Such a beautiful game, and I am immediately putting this game in holding space. Definitely one of my favorite games of the year. Those who know me know that I am a big fan of the Frankenstein monster story, and this game is all about that. You play as Frankenstein's monster, you make different decisions in the game. Given the decisions that you make, you get different endings. Made in this beautiful watercolor style. I think they did a really good job telling the story of Frankenstein and kind of making you understand and feel empathy for Frankenstein's monster. And yeah, it's just a really cool game, and I really appreciate when people pull so much of their heart into a game like I know they did with this one. So if you're into that kind of stuff, recommend. I'm just gonna need you to move over real quick. Thank you. Next, we have Europa. I was really excited to see this game come out last year. I had seen a lot of gameplay from the demo, and I was just thinking like, wow, this game is stunning. Really love that we're getting a lot more cozy open world adventure games, because those are some of my favorite. You play as an android named Z who sets out in search of answers. You run, glide, and fly across the landscape, solve mysteries in the ruins of a fallen utopia, and discover the story of the last human alive. This is just a beautiful game. I'm gonna put this game in Demure and Mindful for now. I feel like once I play more of it, it'll probably become one of my favorite games of last year. So I'm gonna put it in Demure and Mindful for now. You can choose between battling and fighting or just not having any enemies at all, which I think is really cool. Some of it feels like the best parts of Breath of the Wild, in that you are in this stunning, peaceful, wonderful world, and you get to explore absolutely all of it. Why did I play so many games last year? What does that say about me? Just, you know, having a casual identity crisis in the middle of the video. Next game that came out last year was Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Oh my goodness, I am gonna put this game straight up in holding space. This is the first ever Zelda game where we are actually able to play as Zelda. What a time to be alive. I love all of the open world Zelda games that we've been getting recently. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But my favorite Zelda games have always been the handheld version of Zelda. In this game, you play as Zelda, who is, for once, trying to save Hyrule after the trusty and mysterious swordman Link gets swallowed by a dark magic hole. Do you like the way that I explained that? Like, this game had so much heart. It has so much charm. It felt silly while at the same time being so interesting and engaging. I liked it so much that I made a whole video where I was trying to recreate Zelda's costume in this game, which I will link somewhere. No question, one of the best games of the year. The next game I want to talk about is Amelia's Garden. This is a puzzle game where you are fixing your pots and tending to your flowers in order to make them grow. I played the game on the Switch. I don't know if this game is available for PC, but something tells me that it'll probably run better on PC. Some of the mechanics felt quite clunky and not very enjoyable. I really hope that in the future they create some kind of patch for the Switch especially. It felt a little bit unfinished, so for that reason, I'm gonna put it in Wake Up Pearl. Another game that I played on a similar vein was Magic Cat's Pots. I really love this game actually. It's a puzzle game where you are trying to fix pots. I really like games that give you that ability to just play something while watching a movie or listening to a podcast and stuff like that. But I felt like this game was just a little bit repetitive. It was missing something and I'm not quite sure what it was. So I'm gonna put this game in Who Is This Diva? In the grand scheme of puzzle games, I don't know that this one would be one of the first ones that I would recommend. Next on my list is a bit of a silly one. I have been on a Tetris kick for the last 3 months. I play it every single day before bed because I got the Miu Mini Retro Console and I absolutely love it. It's the classic Game Boy Tetris. There's really nothing I can say about it. I know that might be silly to say, but Tetris is one of my absolutely favorite games of all time. And for that reason, I'm holding space for Tetris. Bring Tetris back 2025. On kind of that same vein, I also played the original Link's Awakening last year, also on my Miu Mini Retro Console, and it's just so fun, so good, so nostalgic. I've been really enjoying that, so I'm gonna put that up there as well. A great game that I played last year was actually a mobile game. It's called The Bear, Tales from the World of Gras. It was made by an indie developer. I have never seen a cozy game for your phone like that. Low stakes, story-based game that you can play on your phone. It basically tells you almost like a nighttime story to help you unwind at the end of the day. I'm holding space for this game. I think this was one of my favorite games of 2024 because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before, and I think it deserves its flowers. I have so many games up here. Can we please make some space? Thank you guys. Oh my gosh, another really silly cozy game that I played, Speed Dating for Ghosts. As the name suggests, is a game where you are a ghost and you're speed dating other ghosts. This one was really fun to play on stream. I feel like it was just silly and interesting and yeah, just a fun time. I'm gonna put this game on Who Is This Diva because I feel like it was fun to play. I don't know that I would return to it, but I had a really fun time playing it. So Who Is This Diva? I also played PRIM last year. What a good game. I feel like this game definitely has to go to Demure and Mindful. This is one of those games that made me think like, oh my gosh, point and click games are so underrated. This is a spooky but cute point and click game about PRIM, who after her mother dies finds out she's Death's daughter. You are sent to the underworld to spend time with your dad. It's such a weird game and it has so much dark humor, which I personally really love. It's one of those games kind of like Little Miss Fortune, for example. The cozy gaming community, especially those who are big fans of Halloween, darker games, would really dig this game in my opinion. We also have Prince of Persia. This was one of my favorite games of last year, and you might be thinking, Illy, Prince of Persia is not a cozy game, and to that I say I made a whole video about why I think this game is a cozy game, so go watch that if you want to. It's just a a great game and I really recommend it. If you have always wanted to try out a Metroidvania game or a more AAA game, I feel like this is a wonderful place to start because they made it such a point to make it accessible for all kinds of gamers, and that's just the future of gaming to me. I love to see companies thinking broadly about their audience and the type of people that might be interacting with their game. It'll make you feel like a badass because you'll be like, I'm playing this really cool like AAA game, but look at me, I am able to make it through all the bosses because I put everything in a skill level that actually works for me. I'm really passionate about making sure that everyone is welcomed in all of the gaming spaces that there are. I feel like this game is a really good example of that. Another game that I finally tried in 2024 was Gris. You play as this beautiful character who, after going through some traumatic events, her world becomes gray, and your job is to go through all of these puzzles to bring color back into the world. I've talked about this game ad nauseum ever since I played it. I always heard people talking about it and hyping it up and saying how beautiful it was, and I was like, yeah, I'll play it one day. It must be a beautiful game, whatever. Then I played it and I was like, oh wait, no, this is like up there, one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my life. For that reason, this game was one of my favorites of 2024, so I'm gonna hold space for it. Oh, there's so many games up here. Another game that I played last year was Lost in Play. You play as two siblings who, through their imagination, they get lost in their hometown and you have to find your way back home. It's really interesting because you go through different bouts of imagination and reality, and you also get to see where those things kind of come together. Ready to play during the fall. It's just a fun game, so I'm gonna put it in very demure, very mindful. Another very fall-coded game was Garden Path. This game was very highly anticipated last year, and I see why. I really enjoyed giving it a try. I thought it was so beautiful. You could tell that they put so much heart into the art style. It felt like you were playing through a storybook. This is a slice of life sim about the joy of gardening. Yeah, it's basically a gardening game. I played it on the Switch and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was probably gonna be better on the PC, because some of the mechanics felt a little bit clunky. For that reason, I'm gonna put it in Who is this diva? Another game that I played on my Switch that I kind of wished I had played on my PC was Camaro. In this game, you play as a group of friends who are trying to restore the wildlife and the ecosystem of their town, which happens to be a place for frogs. It's really fun. You're able to lure the frogs into your town and figure out ways that you can take care of them better and give them food and breed them. I especially really liked the watercolor art style of it. Some of it felt a little bit confusing. Like, I don't think I fully understood what I was doing in the game. And I think there's a theme here where maybe I just don't really understand genetics in games, especially when it comes to frog genetics. I am starting to understand. I would recommend it. I thought it was really beautiful. However, I'm gonna put it in Who is this diva? Because I don't really know if I'll actually go back to it and finish it. Another really fun game that I played was Thirsty Suitors. This was a game that I've been wanting to play for a really long time and I finally gave it a try. This is such a wild concept for a game. You play as a girl who's going back to her hometown and basically has to face all of her exes. Very Scott Pilgrim versus the World style. There's some turn-based battles in this game. There's also skating in this game. I love how inclusive it was. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm gonna put this game on demure and mindful. Another game that was very highly anticipated in 2024 was Bandle. I was very lucky to be able to work with Bandle this year. I cannot believe that actually happened. It's a crafting RPG set in the whimsical world of Bandle City, a League of Legends story. I had a really fun time trying out this game. I felt like the tutorial of the game really let the game down. This game felt like it had so many layers. It was kind of hard to catch up in my opinion. I still love the game. I feel like especially if you're a League of Legends fan, you're gonna really love this game. However, I personally didn't get to play it too much last year because I got distracted with other games that came out around that time as well. And only for that reason, I'm gonna put it on Who is this diva? Another game that came out last year that I feel was wonderful for the ghosty gaming community was Infinity Nikki. I am still obsessed with this game. This is a gacha game. It was worked on by the same people that worked on Breath of the Wild, and you can really tell by some of the gameplay. In this game, you play as Nikki, who through a magic dress got transported into a different dimension in which you have different abilities depending on what clothes you wear. So you're trying to collect all of the dresses to collect all of the abilities, and you're also just kind of following the story to figure out what's going on in the town. It feels like a girly pop Breath of the Wild. However, I am not gonna hold space for this game. I'm gonna put this game in very demure and mindful. And that is because I feel like this game could be a lot more inclusive. I know that gacha games in general are not famous for being inclusive. This is one of the few games where you actually get to choose your skin color, which I think is a good step in the right direction. I feel like if you're gonna make your game inclusive, you might as well go all the way and make it inclusive for everybody. Another game that I really loved that I tried this year was Blanc. I feel like it's a really nice co-op game. In this game, you play as a baby deer and a wolf cub. You're following the footsteps and helping each other through these different levels in order to find your family. It's really sweet. I really love it. Slow pace and chill, and it's not too challenging or stressful at all. I'm gonna put it in demure and mindful. Another game that I played was Mario Wonder. I loved Mario Wonder, especially that you could play co-op. I feel like this game is a perfect mixture between bringing back the classic Mario Bros gameplay and also making it new and interesting in its own way. It really reminded me of the Super Mario Bros for the DS game, which is one of my absolute favorite Mario Bros games of all time. Mario Bros, what's bro doing? Yeah, I really loved this game. I feel like this might be one of my favorite co-op games that I've played this year, so I'm gonna put it in holding space. Speaking of other co-op games, I also played the biggest penguin heist of all time. Such a silly game. You play as penguins and you are just doing crime. That's kind of it. I feel like this is one of those games that it's really made by who you're playing it with. If you're playing it with the right people, this game is just one of the best games that you could play. The game in itself feels pretty simple, so I'm gonna put it in Who Is This Diva? So I really recommend it and I really loved it, I'm not gonna lie. The next game I have on here is American Truck Simulator. Guys, I feel like I'm having war flashbacks about this game. I don't know what you're talking about. I have never crashed in my life. In this game, you drive a truck around America. And it's honestly really fun. I am just really bad at driving in games. So I'm gonna put it in Wake Up Pearl. And by Pearl, I mean me. I am putting it there only out of spite. Maybe I'll put it in I Got Hit by a Deer, but it wasn't the game that got hit by a deer. I feel like I was hit by a deer. And the deer was this game. Okay, moving on. I also played a game called Lost But Found. This is actually quite a fun game to play. You are basically some kind of security guard that is tending the lost and found stall at the airport. So you're organizing different objects that you find, making sure that you're giving them to the right person. I like that it has different modes. They have like more stressful, fast modes, and then they also have just really chill, nice modes. I'm gonna put this in demure and mindful. And last but not least, my favorite game of the year. I'm not even trying to be funny. Power Wash Simulator. I am holding so much space for you. As a matter of fact, give some space to mother. There we go. Get comfy, my little baby. Mwah. I think I've become a little delusional after recording for 3 hours. It's so silly, but genuinely, Power Wash Simulator was the game that got me through 2024. This is the game that I spent the most time playing last year. It's perfect to play by yourself. It's perfect to play with people. It's perfect to play while listening to something. It's perfect to play at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, all day long if you want to. You are just power washing to your heart's content. This goes to show that sometimes the games that you play the most, the games that just kind of stick with you, are just the randomest games. So this is my reminder that whatever your favorite game was last year, whether people like it or not, whether it was cool last year to like that game or not, if that was your favorite game, it was your favorite game. And it's all about having fun. You do you. Play the games that you feel like playing, play the games that make you happy. This is how my tier ranking turned out. Let me know if you played any of these games, if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. I would love to know. Give this video a like if you liked it, if you made it this far. Wow, I can't believe that. That's really impressive. Thank you. But most importantly, remember to take care of yourself, have some rest, have some water, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.